Oh my God, and I'm on mute. Oh my God, what a disaster. Look, I have been talking to my computer, not realizing I wasn't live. All right, and I've got to a really juicy bit. It's really juicy, I promise. Maybe I was off for about 10 minutes. Oh, I feel really dumb now. The shoe fits. All right, so I've gone down. Oh, I'm page 69. 69, dude. So she was talking about. They were talking about someone else who there's a whole big redacted part, and whether she was asked whether she had sex with them, and Jeffrey had sex, and anyway, this bit here is asking Virginia whether Virginia, what she did, and she was like, she was a masseuse. She held herself out to be a masseuse or whatever. And then, did you provide Virginia with outfits to wear for certain massages? And Jizzy says, I have no idea what you're talking about. For example, did you ever provide with a schoolgirl outfit to wear for a massage? And she says, I have no idea what you're talking about. So you didn't provide her with that? As I just testified, I have no idea what you're talking about. I was trying to interpret whether you understood what a schoolgirl outfit was, or you are saying that didn't happen. I clearly know what a schoolgirl outfit is. Okay. But she doesn't recall providing it. Did you have a set of outfits by the massage therapist that would that would include things like a schoolgirl outfit, patent leather outfit, or anything like that? That would just be another one of Virginia's lies. I know that Virginia has now passed away, but she was alive at this time, and I cannot imagine how awful it would have been to have been called a liar after having the courage to come forward with, like one of the most powerful families in the world, with the royal family. And then also, she would know that there's some pretty powerful Americans on that list as well. So, yeah. Like I said, I hope wherever Virginia is today, I hope she has peace, and the best thing we can do is get her justice today. So you didn't do anything like that. I did not. Did you have a basket of sex toys that you kept in the Palm Beach house? What do you want, Mabel? You can get up there yourself. I did the floors, and so I took the stairs away, but Mabel, you can get up there. The stairs are there, mate. First of all, what do you mean? This part is so annoying. She asks about this basket of sex toys like 10 times, and I was thinking, being a lawyer seems really boring. Even though this is like one of the most exciting cases ever. Look at her. She made it. Woo! Good job. Did you have a laundry basket of sex toys in the Palm Beach house? I don't recollect anything about a laundry basket of sex toys. Could it have been a box or a suitcase or a bag or, you have to define what you are talking about. Ghislaine, come on now. A sex toy, meaning a vibrator of some kind. Sometimes they're called dildos of that nature. Anything like that. This poor questioner. This is serious. This is really fucking serious. And she has to... That's on purpose. That feels like it's on purpose from Ghislaine as well. Like, I'm going to make you say it. You're going to say these embarrassing things. Who cares? Dildos, sex toys. Who cares? Like, but it feels like there's like a level of humiliation that that Ghislaine would enjoy in that. That's just my opinion, of course. I don't recollect anything like that would be formally a dildo, anything like that. That's a strange answer. How would you describe sex toys? I wouldn't describe sex toys. I wouldn't describe... I don't know what her accent is, but I was just about to go Scottish or Irish with it, and then I stopped myself. She's so upstanding, right? Did you have anything that was of an electronic nature that would be used during sex? I have no idea what you're referring to. That was an interesting way to phrase it. Big redacted piece. I'm just going to go forward. There are 400 pages of this, so we are not going to read every single page. So, are you aware that over 30 underage minors gave testimony to police that they were engaged in sexual acts during quote-unquote massages? So now with respect to the police report, are you aware that over 30 underage girls, meaning under the age of 18, gave reports that they were assaulted sexually by Jeffrey Epstein during massages? And she says, I read the police report, that's all I can testify to. Are you aware of what's in the police report? Are you aware that there were 30 girls? I did not count the number of girls, and I did read the police report. I can only testify to what I read. So you are aware that the police report contains reports from 30 girls. I can only see this, like, what? Just say, yeah, okay. I didn't know that. But now you're telling me. But she just has to be like, well, I can only do this. It seems very snaky. Why were you working for Jeffrey? You said you worked for him off and on until 2009. Is that correct? I helped out from time to time. So you were working with him during the time period when those underage girls were visiting Jeffrey's home. I was not. What year? I need years. How about, let's say, 2005? I'm not sure I was at the house at all in 2005. Maybe one day, maybe. How about 2004? I was present for his mother. His mother died in 2004, so I was there for his mother's death and the funeral, and I was at the house maybe a handful of days again. I don't want to read. I want to see the police report. She's also definitely been instructed to say, you know, that to keep it to Virginia, because she's not talking about the others there. Did you ever consider yourself his girlfriend? That's a tricky question. There were times when I would have liked to think of myself as his girlfriend. When would that have been? Probably in the early 90s. In your responsibilities and working for Jeffrey, would you book massages for him on any given day so that he would have a massage scheduled? Would you take a call, for example, and book massages for him? Typically, that was not my responsibility. He would either book the massages himself or one of his other assistants would do that. From time to time, you had to do that. Like I said, typically it was somebody else's responsibility. If you were unable to book a girl for the massage on a given day, would that mean that you were responsible for giving him a sexual massage? So you're not going to answer that question? Are you? You just heard my counsel, so I don't want to talk about consensual. Have you ever said to anybody that recruiting other girls to perform sexual massages for Jeffrey Epstein takes the pressure off you? Have you ever said that to anybody to recruit girls? Stop right there. I never recruited girls. Let's stop there. Now break down the question. Have you ever said to anybody, by girls, we're talking about underage people, you said girls. Are you talking about underage? We are not talking about consensual acts. This is a defamation suit. I'm asking the questions. I know what this case is about. I will ask you questions if you don't understand the question. I can break it down. I'm happy to do that. All right. We're going to go forward a little bit more. There are some I saw the word photograph. There's a puppet. There's a picture taken at the London townhouse. They are familiar, do you know? Da, 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 da. Seems like they came back around to things, you know, like, and I mean, that would make sense because you'd want to knock down, like, get sort of like into them. All right, we're going forward a fair bit. And this must have taken ages. Seems really boring to be a lawyer. Like, I mean, going into court and that sort of stuff would be a little bit more interesting, but yeah. And also, who needs this many massages? What the fuck? He was really rich. Like, when was he stressed? He needed so many massages? Did he play a lot of sport? Shut up, Tish. It was because he was having sex. Of course. It wasn't massages, you friggin' idiot. Alright, well, what I might do is we might go to her conviction. So what did she get convicted of? Let me open that up. Is that on there? All right. So United States versus, this is the criminal complaint, and count 1 conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. Sealed indictment, Southern District of New York. Overview. The charges set forth herein stem from the role of Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, in the sexual exploitation and abuse of multiple minor girls by Jeffrey Epstein, in particular from at least in or about 1994 up to and including at least in or about 1997. Maxwell assisted, facilitated, and contributed to Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of minor girls by, among other things, helping Epstein to recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse victims known to Maxwell and Epstein to be under the age of 18. The victims were as young as 14 years old when they were groomed and abused by Maxwell and Epstein, by both of them, both of whom knew that certain victims were in fact under the age of 18. Both of them did it. Both of them knew they were under the age of 18. Jeffrey Epstein was around for a long, long time before 1994. There just must be so many victims out there. As a part and in furtherance of their scheme to abuse minor victims, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, and Jeffrey Epstein enticed and caused minor victims to travel to Epstein's residences in different states, which Maxwell knew and intended would result in their grooming for and subjection to sexual abuse. Yeah, that's trafficking. Human trafficking. Moreover, in an effort to conceal her crime, Maxwell repeatedly lied when questioned about her conduct, including in relation to some of the minor victims described herein when providing testimony under oath in 2016. And that's the deposition we were just reading through. During factual background, see the title there underlined? Factual background. During the time period charged in this indictment, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, had a personal and professional relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and was among his closest associates. Do you know who his other closest associate was? Donald Trump. In particular, between in or about 1994 and in or about 1997, Maxwell was in an intimate relationship with Epstein and also was paid by Epstein to manage his various properties, for which she had no experience in. Over the course of their relationship, Maxwell and Epstein were photographed together on multiple occasions, including the below image. Beginning in at least 1994, Ghislaine Maxwell and the defendant enticed and groomed multiple minor girls to engage in sex acts with Jeffrey Epstein through a variety of means and methods, including but not limited to the following. A. Maxwell first attempted to befriend some of the Epstein minor victims prior to their abuse, including by asking the victims about their lives, their schools, and their families. She would see people like driving, and she'd pull up in school uniforms, pull up beside, hey, do you want to make some money? Maxwell and Epstein would spend time building friendships with minor victims by, for example, taking minor victims to the movies or shopping. Some of these outings would involve Maxwell and Epstein spending time together with the minor victim, while some would involve Maxwell or Epstein spending time alone with the minor victim. B. Having developed a rapport with the victim, Maxwell would try to normalize sexual abuse for the minor victim by, among other things, discussing sexual topics, undressing in front of the victim, being present when a minor victim was undressed, and or being present for sex acts involving the minor victim and Epstein. Again, this is called factual background. How many of those little girls would have been falsely thinking they were safe because she was there. They would have been thinking, I will be okay because there's another woman here. She will protect me from if anything bad were to go on. That hurts my heart, like, to hear, to think, imagine sitting in that moment and going, oh shit, I'm not safe anymore. Like, it just would be awful. Maxwell's presence during minor victims' interactions with Epstein, including interactions where the minor victim was undressed or that involved sex acts with Epstein, helped put the victims at ease. That's what I just said. I hadn't read this part. Helped put the victim at ease because an adult woman was present. For example, in some instances, Maxwell would massage Epstein in front of a minor victim. In other instances, Maxwell encouraged minor victims to provide massages to Epstein, including sexualized massages during which a minor victim would be fully or partially nude. Many of those massages resulted in Epstein sexually abusing the minor victim. This is heavy. It's heavy. Yeah, big trigger warning here. In addition, Epstein offered to help some minor victims by paying for travel and or educational opportunities, and Maxwell encouraged certain victims to accept Epstein's assistance. As a result, victims were made to feel indebted and believed that Maxwell and Epstein were trying to help them. That's part of the grooming process, and you had to know that a lot of the people who were targeted didn't have a lot of money, didn't come from money. Through this process, Maxwell and Epstein's enticed victims to engage in sexual activity with Epstein. In some instances, Maxwell was present for and participated in the sexual abuse of minor victims. Right fucking there. Again, factual elements. What is it called again? Factual background. This is the person that Donald Trump said, I wish her well. I wish her well. Some such incidents occurred in the context of massages, which developed into sexual encounters. I knew she was like a part of it, but the fact that she is in a minimum security prison, just an indictment on the entire legal system in America. Like, absolutely. 5, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, facilitated Jeffrey Epstein's access to minor victims, knowing that he had a sexual preference for underage girls and that he intended to engage in sexual activity with those victims. Epstein's resulting abuse of minor victims included, among other things, big trigger warning here, touching a victim's breast, touching victims' genitals, placing a sex toy such as a vibrator on the victim's genitals, directing a victim to touch Epstein while he masturbated, and directing a victim to touch Epstein's genitals. Again, factual background. Maxwell and Epstein's victims. 6. Between approximately in or about 1994 and in or about 1997, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, facilitated Jeffrey Epstein's access to minor victims by, among other things, inducing and enticing and aiding and abetting the inducement and enticement of multiple minor victims. Victims were groomed and or abused at multiple locations, including the following: Remember, in the beginning of the stream, we looked at her talking about what she did for Jeffrey and saying, you know, like, yeah, I would arrange his massages. Yeah. She knew exactly what a massage meant. Now this, the New York residents, lots of cameras everywhere. And in an FBI raid, they did confiscate a whole lot of footage and photos. And that was the famous photo that Michael Wolff, he has had a lot of interviews with Jeffrey Epstein before he died, and talked about a photo of Donald Trump with some topless girls whose age is undetermined, but they looked young, and he had a stain on his shorts that they were pointing at and laughing. So yeah. So the first property, a multi-story private residence on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, New York, owned by Epstein, which is depicted in the following photograph. An estate in Palm Beach, Florida, owned by Epstein, the Palm Beach residence, which is depicted in the following photograph. A ranch in Santa Fe, New Mexico, owned by Epstein, the New Mexico residence. Maxwell's personal residence in London, England. Among the victims induced or enticed by Ghislane Maxwell, the defendant were minor victims identified herein as minor victim 1, minor victim 2, minor victim 3. In particular, and during the time periods relevant to this indictment, Maxwell engaged in the following acts, among others, with respect to minor victims. Ooh, this is going to be yucky. Let me take a sip of water. Not actually water. It's liquid IV. I can't remember the name of it. Okay. So Maxwell met minor victim 1 when, I'm just going to say number 1. Number 1 was approximately 14 years old. Maxwell subsequently interacted with 1 on multiple occasions at Epstein's residences, knowing that 1 was under the age of 18 at the time. During these interactions, which took place between approximately 1994 and 1997, Maxwell groomed minor victim 1 to engage in sexual acts with Epstein through multiple means. First, Maxwell and Epstein attempted to befriend 1, taking her to the movies and on shopping trips. Maxwell also asked 1 about school, her classes, her family, and other aspects of her life. Maxwell then sought to normalize inappropriate and abusive conduct by, among other things, undressing in front of 1 and being present when 1 undressed in front of Epstein. Within the first year after Maxwell and Epstein met 1, Epstein began sexually abusing 1. That's a lot of time to put into grooming, and you know it wasn't the only one they were doing. Maxwell was present for and involved in some of this abuse. In particular, Maxwell involved minor 1 in group sexualized massages of Epstein. During those group sexualized massages, Maxwell and or minor victim 1 would engage in sex acts with Epstein. Epstein and Maxwell both encouraged 1 to travel to Epstein's residences in both New York and Florida. As a result, 1 was sexually abused by Epstein in both New York and Florida. 1 was enticed to travel across state lines for the purpose of sexual encounter with Epstein, and Maxwell was aware that Epstein engaged in sexual activity with 1 after 1 traveled to Epstein's property, including in the context of sexualized massage. Ugh, yucky. Maxwell interacted with Tu on at least one occasion in or about 1996 at Epstein's residence in New Mexico when Tu was under the age of 18. Minor victim 2 had flown into New Mexico from out of state at Epstein's invitation for the purpose of being groomed for and or subjected to acts of sexual abuse. Maxwell knew that minor victim 2 was under the age of 18 at the time. While in New Mexico, Maxwell and Epstein took Tu to a movie and Maxwell took Tu shopping. Maxwell also discussed Tu's school, classes and family with Tu. In New Mexico, Maxwell began her efforts to groom Tu for abuse by Epstein by, among other things, providing a unsolicited massage to Tu, during which Tu was topless. Maxwell also encouraged Tu to massage Epstein. These are only 3 people, and there's a police report with over 30 people. I feel sick in the stomach. Maxwell groomed and befriended 3 in London, England between approximately 1994 and 5, England during a period of time in which Maxwell knew that 3 was under the age of 18. Among other things, Maxwell discussed 3's life and family with minor victim 3. Maxwell introduced 3 to Epstein and arranged for multiple interactions between 3 and Epstein. During those interactions, Maxwell encouraged 3 to massage Epstein, knowing that Epstein would engage in sex acts with 3 during those massages. 3 provided massage, and during those massages, Epstein sexually abused 3. Maxwell was aware that Epstein engaged in sexual activity with minor victim 3 on multiple occasions, including at times when 3 was under the age of 18, including in the context of a sexualized massage. Okay, that was terrible. I hated all of that. But again, this has to be out. Like, this at the moment, no one's going to question. This is the court documents from 2020. I think it's 2020. We're up to page 9. Hang on. Let's see. Maybe it's on the last page. Where is a date? I would like to see a date. Why can't I see a date? 20. Why isn't there a date on this somewhere? Maybe there is and I'm just not looking at it properly. Oh, no, that's 26. That's the deposition. Maybe it's in like the metadata or whatever. Okay, we're up to page 9. All right, I'll take another sip of liquid IV. Highly recommend strawberry. I tried the watermelon. Didn't like it. All right. Maxwell's efforts to conceal her conduct. In or around 2016, in the context of a deposition, which we read through at the beginning of the stream, and for those who just noticed, I accidentally cut off the stream and then was talking to my computer for 10 minutes, not being on stream. So there's 2 halves of this one. In or around 2016, the defendant repeatedly provided false and perjurious statements under oath regarding, among other subjects, her role in facilitating the abuse of minor victims by Jeffrey Epstein, including some of the specific events and acts of abuse detailed above. From at least in or about 1994 up to and including in or about 1997 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, Jeffrey Epstein, and other known and unknown, willfully, and others known, Donald Trump, willfully and unknowingly did combine, conspire, confederate, and agree together and with each other to commit an offence against the United States, to wit, enticement in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 2422. It was part and object of the conspiracy that Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, Jeffrey Epstein, and others known and unknown, Donald Trump, would and did knowingly persuade, induce, entice, and coerce one and more individuals to travel in interstate and foreign commerce, to engage in sexual activity for which a person can be charged with a criminal offence in violation of Title 18, United States Code, Section 2422. Overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy and to effect the illegal object thereof. The following overt acts, among others, were committed in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere. Between and in or about 1994 and in or about 1997, when minor victim 1 was the age of 18, Maxwell participated in multiple group sexual encounters with Epstein and one in New York and Florida. Yeah, that's rape. Raping a child. In or about 1996, when 1 was under the age of 18, 1 was enticed to travel from Florida to New York for purpose of sexually abusing her at the New York residence in violation of New York penal law. In or about 1996, when minor victim 2 was under the age of 18, Maxwell provided minor victim 2 with an unsolicited massage, during which 2 was topless. Between in or about 1994 and in or about 1995, when minor victim 3 was under the age of 18, Maxwell encouraged 3 to provide massage to Epstein in London, England, knowing that Epstein intended to sexually abuse 3 during those massages. Count 2, enticement of a minor to travel to engage in illegal sex acts. The grand jury further charges the allegations contained in paragraph 1 through 8 of this indictment are repeated and re-alleged as if fully set forth within. The legal jargon. From at least in or about 1994 up to and including in or about 1997 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, knowingly did persuade, induce, entice, and coerce an individual to travel in interstate and foreign commerce to engage in sexual activities for which a person can be charged with a criminal offence, and attempted to do the same and aided and abetted the same. To wit, Maxwell persuaded, induced, enticed, and coerced minor victim 1 to travel from Florida to New York on multiple occasions with the intention that 1 would engage in 1 or more sex acts with Jeffrey Epstein in violation of New York penal law. Count 3, conspiracy to transport minors with intent to engage in criminal sexual activity. The grand jury further charges the allegations contained in paragraph 1 through 8 of this indictment are repeated and re-alleged as if fully set forth within. From at least in or about 1994 up to and including in or about 1997 in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, Jeffrey Epstein, and others known and unknown, known, Donald Trump, willfully and knowingly did combine and conspire, confederate and agree together and with each other to commit an offence against the United States, to wit, transportation of minors in violation of Title 18. It was part and object of the conspiracy that Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant Jeffrey Epstein, and others known and unknown would and did knowingly transport an individual who had not attained the age of 18 in interstate and foreign commerce with intent that the individual engaged in sexual activities for which person can be charged with a criminal offence in violation of Title 18. Oh my God, so much legal jargon. In furtherance, overt acts, in furtherance of the conspiracy and to effect the illegal object thereof, the following overt acts, among others, were committed in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere between in or about 1994 and in or about 1997. One was under the age of 18. Maxwell participated in multiple group sexual activities, encounters with Epstein, and one in New York and Florida. In or about 1996, when one was under the age of 18, minor victim one was enticed to travel from Florida to New York for the purpose of sexually abusing her at the New York residence. In or about 1996, when minor victim 2 was under the age of 18, Maxwell provided 2 with an unsolicited massage, during which 2 was topless between or about 1994 and in or about 1995. When 3 was under the age of 18, Maxwell encouraged 3 to provide massages to Epstein in London, England, knowing that Epstein intended to sexually abuse her. Next one, transportation, count 4, transportation of a minor with intent to engage in criminal activity. I think this is just repeating again. Yeah. And then the perjury. The grand jury further charges the allegations contained in paragraphs 1 through 8 of this indictment are repeated and On or about April 22nd, 2016, in the Southern District of New York, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, having taken an oath to testify truthfully in a deposition in connection with this case, then pending before the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York under docket number 15 Civ 7344, knowingly made false material declarations, to wit, Maxwell gave the following underlined false testimony. Did Jeffrey Epstein have a scheme to recruit underage girls for sexual massage? If you know. I don't know what you're talking about. List all the people under the age of 18 that you interacted with at any of Jeffrey's properties. I am not aware that I interacted with any other than obviously the plaintiff, who was 17 at this point. So that's under 18. Count 6, perjury. The grand jury further charges the allegations contained in paragraphs 1 through 8 of this indictment. On or about July 22nd, 2016, in the Southern District of New York, Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant, having taken an oath to testify truthfully in a deposition in connection with the case, knowingly made false material declarations, to wit, Maxwell gave the following underlined false testimony. Were you aware that in the presence of sex toys or devices used in the sexual activities in Mr. Epstein's Palm Beach house? No, not that I recall. Do you know whether Mr. Epstein possessed sex toys or devices used in sexual activities? No. Other than yourself and the blonde and brunette that you have identified as having been involved in the 3-way sexual activities, with whom did Mr. Epstein have sexual activities? I wasn't aware that he was having sexual activities with anyone when I was with him other than myself. Oh, sweetie. He wasn't faithful. You're much too old for him. I want to be sure that I'm clear. Is it your testimony that in 1999 and 2000s, in the 1990s and 2000s, you were not aware that Mr. Epstein was having sexual activities with anyone other than yourself and the blonde and brunette on those few occasions when they were involved with you. That is my testimony. That is correct. Is it your testimony that you've never given anybody a massage? I have not given anyone a massage. This seems like weird. Even like haven't given anyone a massage like in a long time. You never gave Mr. Epstein a massage. Is that your testimony? That is my testimony. You never gave two a massage. I never gave two a massage. Okay, so that wasn't the they were the charges. I want the sentence. Ghislaine Maxwell. I hope it's not a long document. It's not. Hooray. This is a press release. Okay. Maybe. Maybe there is. Hang on. Yeah, that was pretty full on. She's a monster. She, like I said, okay, well. So this is from the U.S. Attorney's Office, Southern District of New York, which is where she was charged. Let me change my window. Alright, we can see that. I'll just move over a little bit. So what we just read through was the charges, and this is about the sentence. Damian Williams, the United States Attorney for Southern District. So this is Tuesday, June 28, 2022. Announced that Ghislaine Maxwell was sentenced today in Manhattan Federal Court by United States Circuit Judge Allison J. Nathan to 240 months in prison for her role in a scheme to sexually exploit and abuse multiple minor girls with Jeffrey Epstein over the course of a decade. Maxwell was previously found guilty on December 29, 2021, following a one-month jury trial of conspiracy to entice minors to travel to engage in illegal sexual acts, conspiracy to transport minors to participate in illegal sexual acts, and transporting a minor to participate in illegal sexual acts, sex trafficking conspiracy, and sex trafficking of a minor. And perjury, I thought. U.S. Attorney Damian Williams said today's sentence holds Ghislaine Maxwell accountable for against children. This sentence sends a strong message that no one is above the law and it is never too late for justice. We again express our gratitude to Epstein and Maxwell's victims for their courage in coming forward at trial and sharing their stories as a part of today's sentencing. Absolutely fucking heroes. Absolutely strong. Just amazing women. Court documents and evidence presented at trial. From at least 1994 up to and including in or about 2004, Ghislaine Maxwell assisted, facilitated, and participated in Jeffrey Epstein's abuse of minor girls by, among other things, helping Epstein to recruit, groom, and ultimately abuse victims known to Maxwell and Epstein to be under the age of 18. The victims were as young as 14 years old when they were groomed and abused by Maxwell and Epstein. Both of them knew that their victims were in fact minors. As a part and in furtherance of their scheme to abuse minor victims, Maxwell and Epstein enticed and caused minor victims to travel to Epstein's residences in different states, which Maxwell knew and intended would result in the grooming for and subjection to sexual abuse. I need to take a breath in between all of those words because I'm not slowing down. Maxwell enticed and groomed minor girls to be abused in multiple ways. For example, Maxwell attempted to befriend certain victims by asking them about their lives, their schools, and their families, and taking them to the movies or on shopping trips. That's called love bombing. Maxwell also acclimated victims to Epstein's conduct simply by being present for victim interactions with Epstein, which put victims at ease by providing an assurance and comfort of an adult woman who seemingly approved of Epstein's behavior. Additionally, Epstein offered to help some victims by paying for travel and/or educational opportunities, and Maxwell encouraged certain victims to accept Epstein's assistance. As a result, victims were made to feel indebted and believed that Maxwell and Epstein were trying to help them. Maxwell also normalized and facilitated sexual abuse for a victim by discussing sexual topics, undressing in front of the victim, being present when the victim was undressed, and encouraging the victim to massage Epstein. Yuck. As Maxwell and Epstein intended, these grooming behaviors left minor victims vulnerable and susceptible to sexual abuse by Epstein. Maxwell was then present for certain sexual encounters between minor victims and Epstein, such as interactions where a minor victim was undressed and ultimately was present for sex acts perpetrated by Epstein or minor victims. That abuse included sexualized massages during which a minor victim was fully or partially nude, as well as a group of sexualized massages of Epstein involving a minor victim where Maxwell was present. In some instances, Maxwell participated in the sexual abuse of the minor victims. Ultimately, minor victims were subjected to sexual abuse that included, among other things, the touching of a victim's breast or genitals, placing a sex toy such as a vibrator on a victim's genitals, directing a victim to touch Epstein while he masturbated, and directing a victim to touch Epstein's genitals. Maxwell and Epstein's victims were groomed or abused at Epstein's residences in New York, Florida, and New Mexico, as well as Maxwell's residence in London, England. That's where the picture of Prince Andrew comes from with Virginia Giuffre. And she said that Prince Andrew was real, he liked to dance, and she said that he sweated all over her. And he said, I don't sweat. So she's obviously telling the truth, telling a lie. Ultimately, in the earlier phases of the conspiracy, from at least approximately 1994 through approximately 2001, Maxwell and Epstein identified vulnerable girls, typically from single mother households and difficult financial circumstances. This earlier phase required the defendant and Epstein to identify one girl at a time to target for grooming and abuse. Ugh, that's what they used to do as a couple. Gross. In the later phase, from approximately 2001 until at least approximately 2004, Maxwell and Epstein enticed and recruited and caused to be enticed and recruited minor girls to visit Epstein's Palm Beach residence to engage in sex acts with Epstein, after which Epstein encouraged one or more of those victims to travel with Epstein with the intention that the victim engage in sex acts with Epstein. Moreover, in order to maintain and increase his supply of victims, Maxwell and Epstein also paid certain victims to recruit additional girls to be similarly abused by Epstein. In this way, Maxwell and Epstein created a network of underage victims for Epstein to sexually exploit. In addition to the prison sentence, Maxwell, 60, was sentenced to 5 years of supervised release and ordered to pay a $750 fine. Mr. Williams praised the outstanding work of the FBI. The case is being handled by Officers Public Corruption Unit, Assistant U.S. Attorney Maureen Comey, Alison Moe, Lara Pomerantz, and Andrew Rohrbach are in charge of the prosecution. Those people are gone now. Those people are gone. That is... Oh, it just takes you to the... Alright, so that's it. That's what this bitch did. She's awful. She should not be in any... like I said at the beginning, I don't think that... I think prison should be more rehabilitative. But... and we don't, you know... Because it shouldn't be worse because of what she did or whatever. But see if they are going to be innocent people who haven't access to a trial, and people are going to, you know, deported. Or I wonder if that's on the cover. I wonder if she had American passport. If she survives the 20 years, so she'll be 80, she could well survive if she keeps her head down. A lot of people said that she's safer in prison than out of prison. Got Jeffrey, but because there's cameras everywhere, if she was released, it would be more dangerous for her. You know. So the next thing we're going to look at with the saga of am I back? Yeah, okay. So the next thing that we're looking at is the birthday book. I really want to connect this to Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is involved in this shit. I think, you know, before, 1994, when Ghislaine's first sort of like hooked up with oh my God, Jeffrey, he had already been doing this, and I think that he honed those skills with Trump. Trump used to own the beauty pageants, and he would say like, the beauty pageants, he could just go into the dressing rooms and say, "Hey guys, I'm here," like just seeing how everybody is, and they'd be in various states of undress, and you know, he's the owner of the pageant, he can go in there. So that's gonna be it for today. Thank you for being here, even if you're a silent watcher. And if you're chuck us a like, subscribe if you're not already, and we will return. I don't know if we'll do it every day, but I'll be back soon with the birthday book. I read some of the birthday book. Oh, it's gross. It's gross as well. Yeah. All right. Well, take it easy, everyone, and I'll see you next time. All right.